Well, hello, everybody. This is Bob Paradise from Attain Technology. Another webinar for you. Today, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity insurance. This is Shelly. Shelly's our business developer, and she's an amazing person. And she's going to be asking me some questions today. And with that, let's get into it.
Great. So we're going to be talking about cybersecurity insurance today, which is a vast topic, but I know that you can pull it all in for us because there's so much to know. So that's really important for our businesses. So I'll just get right into the questions. So our first question today is we want to know the truth about cybersecurity, just like our webinar is titled, because we want to know, will they really pay out claims to get protection in place for us?
So the short answer to that is yes, but the long answer to that is maybe. And this is the thing, right? Because what the insurance companies are currently doing is they're writing these policies. And the policy, you file an application, and this is something that I absolutely hate about insurance companies. You file the application, they accept you, and then they write a policy, but then they send you some link to the policy or send it to you by mail, and no one ever opens that envelope and reads that policy. And what they're putting into these policies is they're putting in caveats, basically saying, okay, if you get breached, these are the steps you need to follow in order for us to pay the claim. So one of the first things I recommend to do is, if you get breached, call your lawyer and call your insurance company and find out the process and procedure. And then if you have a policy, I think we should read that policy beforehand and know exactly what we need to do if you get breached. So that way we can write that in our disaster recovery plan so we don't violate those terms by accident. A lot of those terms are, you need to preserve the evidence, because the insurance company is most likely going to want you to file a claim with the FBI. And report it, and they want to preserve that evidence. The other thing is that they also want to make sure you're recoverable, so they don't want you to do anything that might make you so you're not recoverable. So in short, yes, they're contractually obligated to pay, but if you violate those steps and procedures that are laid out in your policy, then you have no chance of collecting, and they have not paid because of that. So.
Okay, so is it kind of like when you get, your binder for your next year's homeowner's insurance or your car policy? You want to read it, but you're thinking, oh, it's probably the same as last year. I got that same amount of coverage. But so do you get a binder with cybersecurity insurance, and is that part of the policy, or before they write the policy? So you should read through that to really understand maybe what all of the rules and the processes to go through to make sure that if you do have a problem, you know what to do to make sure the claim is paid. Would you say it's like that?
It is a very similar process. However, the policy might contain language that's not in the binder as well. So you want to definitely, as soon as that policy is issued, you want to read that policy, make sure we find out what we need to do to meet the goals of collecting on that policy. And then we should write that in our disaster recovery plan, so that that's built into our procedure. And if we build it into our procedure, then there's higher chances that we're going to follow that procedure and make the claim valid.
Okay, so also I just read about that. If you don't, most of the cybersecurity insurance companies are requiring that you have a business continuity and disaster recovery plan and backup. Are you seeing that too, or?
Oh, most definitely. I don't think you're going to get a cyber insurance company to write you without a good disaster continuity plan, because that's your first line of defense, right? So you get hacked, recoverability is the key, right? And here's the thing about cybersecurity insurance, right? If you lose all your data, right, and it's completely unrecoverable, what is cybersecurity insurance worth, right? So you have $1 million worth of cybersecurity insurance. If your business is only worth $1 million, then maybe you've made out, right? Because you can collect that money and walk away. But every business owner I know is going to want to reclaim their business. Well, if you don't have any data to reclaim your business, it's going to take you months and years to get that data. You're going to be going to customers, vendors, to replicate all of that data. And then you're going to have to work with the CPA and the IRS to figure out how to file taxes. It just becomes a big ball of mess. So making sure you're recoverable so we can recover you in a reasonable period of time and vet those recoveries and make sure that we get you back up and running, and then collect the insurance policy for all the downtime, any payouts you need to make, and then, you know, not just cybersecurity, but like if you have a good disaster recovery plan, you know, new facilities and all that, make sure the insurance pays for those things as well. So we want to make sure that we do everything in our power to make the process as smooth as possible, good disaster recovery plan, and make sure we comply with the policies. And this way, everybody's on the same page from day one.
Okay, although that makes sense. I mean, and the thought of just having to recover your data by yourself if you don't have a plan, just, oh, that's a nightmare all in of itself. Even small businesses, I can imagine that would just take forever to recover from. So you need to be backed up.
So I've seen a company where they lost only 6 months worth of data, and it took them 9 months to recover from that 6 months of data. And what we're doing, this is back in the days when we had paper and filing cabinets, and they were going into the paper filing cabinets and grabbing all the paper out and re-replicating it in the system. Those days are over. Nobody has paper copies anymore. I mean, we purge our paper copies probably a year after we get them, right? We have them all electronic. So and most companies I know keep everything electronic and no paper, or as little paper as possible. So yeah, it's important.
Right. We used to go from, you know, we all had 4 or 5 filing cabinets to, you know, maybe we have one small one under our desk, the rest is all digital. So again, you know, a good argument for why you need the recovery plan and backup, period. Even if without the insurance, you still need backup. So very important part of your business.
So we use a very robust backup system, probably the best class in the industry. And our system backs up locally. So we put an appliance on site, it backs up locally. And then it backs up to a cloud location. And then that cloud location replicates off to a second cloud location. And then what happens is the second cloud location has a 30-day lock on it. So you cannot delete data for 30 days. If you issue a data delete for the first data center, it won't delete from the second data center for 30 days. And that's on purpose. That's so that the hackers can't delete your data and force you to pay a ransomware. So
that's a great point, because, you know, a lot of people they back up maybe to the cloud or maybe in their office somewhere else. And, you know, problems arise with that too. I've just been witness to, maybe they don't know how to get that second backup, or they forget where it was, or they thought that the cloud backup was good, but it could be corrupted. So that 30-day lock is an interesting point.
Well, the other point too, one other point I want to make on this is that the type of backup matters too. If you're just backing up flat files, well, yeah, we can rebuild servers and rebuild everything, but we have to rebuild the whole environment manually. So that takes a long time. Another reason why to have cybersecurity insurance, because they'll pay you for that downtime. But it's really loss of productivity and loss of revenue while your focus is on recovery as opposed to selling. So what my job is to make sure that your backups are image-based so we can recover the environment fairly quickly.
Okay, good point. Image-based backups. Okay, great. All right, so let's see, we have our next question. It says, I know in the past that some agents merely sold insurance but didn't lay out what you had to do to comply in order to get paid in the event of a breach. Do you feel like they are now, you know, you mentioned the policy, so it's just a matter of what you need to read. They're getting really good at what they should write, or what do you think about that?
So here's my thing. Don't trust your agent, because their agent's not even familiar with what's in the policies, right?
Okay.
They're not there to advise you, hey, you got to do this. They're not going to tell you you need to follow these steps and procedures to make sure the claim is valid. Maybe if you call them and you have a breach, they might do that for you, but you might have already done some things that violated that policy. So, you know, don't trust the agent. Make sure you read the policy, make sure you know what you're required to do, make sure you build that into your processes and procedures.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm thinking I am well versed in cybersecurity, but I'm thinking, what if there's just some things that don't make sense to me, or I don't feel like the whole policy is there. Are there any additional steps that we could, could we call our IT guy like Bob and say, hey, what does this mean? I mean, what other ways can we make sure that we would follow the policy?
So
The procedure.
normally when in today's day, the insurance company is going to ask a ton of questions that you're not going to have any clue on. They're
Okay.
going to be a bunch of acronyms and abbreviations that we know what are, like MFA and two-factor authentication and OWA and web email and isolation and VPN. They're going to throw all these terms at you. Often we work with our clients to go through that list to make sure that they're going to meet those criteria, and 90% of our clients already do because we push cybersecurity on a regular basis. So usually it's a moot point, and usually there's only a couple things that we can guide our client to do to reduce the cost of the policy. So that's another good point, is that in today's cybersecurity insurance, and I think I'm going to ruin some questions for you, Shelley, so I apologize.
That's okay.
But in today's cybersecurity insurance, what they're doing is that they're doubling the policy costs, right, and reducing the benefits, right? And a lot of cybersecurity insurance companies are just dropping out completely. And I think that's something to be noted, because they are dropping out completely, and that tells you that the cybersecurity state is so bad that they don't feel like they can make money at insuring cybersecurity, so they drop out of it. And the problem with cybersecurity is that on a day-to-day basis, you do not see what's happening, because if you get attacked, you keep it as quiet as possible. You don't want that bad attention. Well, there's 50 others around you. I guarantee you there's 50 in your city. If you live in a decent sized city with over 250,000 people, I bet there's 50 attacks going on at any given time in various stages, right? And you want to make sure that you're not one of them. And by doing that, the cyber insurance companies are giving you some of the tools, and then we're giving you some of the tools to prevent those as well.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And a very good point. I mean, that just, when you have insurance companies pulling out of something, that really should signal something. That's pretty scary, because, if they can't make money in it, that means that we're seeing a lot more cyber attacks.
We are seeing a ton more cyber attacks, and the tactics that they're using is getting more and more aggressive, right? So one of the things that they're doing is they're sitting on your systems for 6 months to a year. They're being patient, right? Because what they want to do is they want to compromise all your possible backups, so that when they ransomware you, they have you, they make you pay, right? But the other things that they're doing, I just read a report, they are mailing you USB drives that are impregnated with code that will, once you plug it in, it sends keyboard commands to your computer. So your computer recognizes it as a keyboard. You're going to recognize it as, oh, this drive doesn't work. And you're not going to think anything about it, but they've already issued those commands to your computer and then added you to a remote control network. Now they have command control over that computer. And then once they get that computer, what they'll do is they'll sit on that computer till a domain administrator or administrator logs onto that computer. Now they have the administrative credentials, right? Once they have the administrative credentials, they'll sit on your network for 6 months. They'll watch everything. They'll see what's going on. They'll extract social security numbers, dates of birth from your employees, your customers, credit card numbers, any other personal identifiable information they can sell off on the dark web. And then 6 months, a year in, they'll ransomware you to get the bigger payday, right? And it's a very coordinated attack. This could be 3 different organizations doing this one attack. So it's amazing infrastructure they've built. And I'll tell you what, if I wouldn't go to jail, I might consider that as a business opportunity.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I just read an article where they likened what hackers make from ransomware and hacking is likened to a Colombian cartel selling cocaine. I mean, that was pretty terrifying. I thought, oh my goodness, but when you walk through the process that you just laid out, I mean, they have a process. So they even wait so they can get more, into your networks, wait for the administrator, like you said. So they have these tactics. I mean, when I first read about the jump drive, I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, if I got one in the mail, I wonder, but they're also just leaving them sitting around office buildings. And someone's going to pick it up and put it, to see, oh, maybe I could return it,
Well, not even return it. Oh, this is a 32 gigabyte USB drive. Look, I got a free USB drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
That reminds me, in the 1990s, the US government immediately one day issued an order and sent all security people to collect every USB drive at every government facility. And the reason being is that China impregnated a code of every USB drive leaving China with software to replicate any data that hit that drive to China. So this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
But the difference today is that with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, they can make us pay. So they can steal our data. In the past, they would have just stole our data. We wouldn't even known it. And they would have been selling that data on the dark web. But now with cryptocurrency, they can say, I'm going to hold you hostage. And then the other thing is that they're taking it to the next level is, let's say you decide you don't want to pay the ransomware. Okay, we'll release all of this data, right, to the public so that they see what you've been up to, or they can see how much money you've made. All your information has become public. So it's sort of like ransomware and hostage and blackmail all rolled in one. And they keep getting more and more creative because they keep making more and more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And they keep infringing on our little tchotchkes that we want to give away at conferences and workshops. I mean, I remember every IT, anything you used to go to, you always got at least 2 or 3 jump drives. So it's really scary that, nope, can't do that anymore. We're going to have to go back to just, here's some sunglasses, with our name on it. At least they can't encrypt that.
Like it is scary because even legitimate software has been compromised and used against the people that use that software. So from a legitimate company, they've either paid a bad actor within the organization to insert some code into the software, or they've hacked into the network and then inserted code into that network. And then that company issues the update. And then all of a sudden, every system that's associated with that software is compromised, right? So the hackers are getting smarter and smarter every day. And I think, in my opinion, law enforcement and the US government keep sitting on their hands and saying they want to do something, but they tell us that businesses need to do something. I think that we need another branch of the military, and I think it needs to be cyber defense, right?
Yes, definitely. That is, I think that's where we're heading. It's because it just continues to get worse. We do need our own branch that takes care of it. And why not the military?
I mean, the local law enforcement agencies don't have the skill set or the budget. I mean, you're talking people that get paid $200,000 and $300,000 a year to do this stuff, right? They just don't have the budget to pay these people to do this. No, and then they don't have the skill set because they can't afford to pay them. And it's really not sexy because over 3/4 of the crimes get perpetrated by somebody outside this country, and there's no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a double-edged sword. It's like it's a win-win for people in India because all they have to do is pay a few bucks to their local police and army, and they can continue to do business. And then let's look at Russia and Iran. Like, they would love to crush us, never mind North Korea, right? So they're perpetrating state attacks all the time, right? They're sponsored. The Russian government sponsored hackers to go after US people.
Yeah. And
not until we put a lot of pressure on the Russian government did they prosecute them, but they didn't really prosecute them.
Right, right. Well, that's how it goes. And that's why, like you said, it's easy for them in other countries to do that. So the local police couldn't do anything. It's just like you said, not their jurisdiction, but we need help.
We do. And so the best defense is a good offense, right? So let's put the best offense on there. By putting the tools, we use some threat hunting tools on all of our systems. We're implementing zero trust across organizations so that basically nothing's trusted, right? We're doing it down to the application. So what application can access the file server, right? So that way, when the hacker gets on there with their little utilities, well, that application doesn't work, right? So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking for every avenue to prevent hacking and access, right? If we can slow them down to the point where we can detect them, and then once we detect them, rid them. It's like what if you got mice in your house, right? Once you get mice in your house, it's next to impossible to get rid of them. You kill 5, but there's 500 out there, right? So it's just insanity. And that's what hacking's like. It's like trying to get rid of the ant mound, right? You can kill this section, but it just pops up over here because there's 40,000 ants there, and you might kill 500. So
yes, okay, good analogy. Well, and it's a good segue to the next question, which is, what is the best plan of action for a business to take to protect themselves? And what's the minimum they should have in place? And what could they add to be protected even more?
So that is a great question. And I'm going to tell you that question changes on a monthly basis. So one of the best things we can start with is that 80% of hacks start with an end user. Right.
Okay.
So an end user clicking a link in email, opening emails, corresponding with email, clicking a social media link, downloading something that's incorrect. So let's train the end users and build a cybersecurity culture at your organization so that they're deathly afraid of clicking or downloading something makes them think 3 or 4 times, because that's really what we need to do. And then what we'll do is we will give them the tools that they need, the training, banners in an email basically saying that this is an external email, so we can't use false trust hoods.
Okay.
Stick to business only business on the computers, right? So don't let people surf the web and go to these weird sites, and really restrict and control what they can do. And it's not to be a jerk. It's about protecting yourselves. It's not about controlling the people. It's about the less exposure we can have for an organization, the better chances we have of not getting hacked. I like to look at it as like an apple tree, right? So if you go to the apple farm, all the fruit at the bottom of the tree gets picked, right? Because everybody that walks by can hit it. The 3-year-old can pick a piece of fruit off the bottom of the tree. But if you look at the top of the tree, there's a ton of apples up there, but nobody ever picks them, right? So from a cybersecurity perspective, we should do as much as possible to get you to be the top quarter of that tree with the most apples. So you've preserved your apples, we've protected your apples. And that's what we're looking to do. And we do that by adding layers of security. Some of those layers are threat hunting, zero trust protection. What else can we do? Really next-gen antivirus, anti-malware, managed detection and response on our next-gen response firewall, constant monitoring, taking care of and remediating the vulnerabilities that are popular and being used. Now, you notice I said popular and being used because there's about 2 bazillion vulnerabilities out there, and you never could prevent them all. Also, segmenting your network so that all the IoT devices like Alexa, and she's going to speak here, sorry, like Alexa or Google Home or anything like that, segment those off onto their separate network so they're not traveling on your separate network. So if there's a vulnerability in there, they get segmented off and they don't affect your business networks. Mobile devices, segment off your mobile devices. Read your cybersecurity policy, find out what it takes to comply with their policy. Also, they're going to give you recommendations. Follow and do every one of those recommendations they're giving you. There's a reason why the insurance companies are making these recommendations, because these things work. They know that the risk goes down in the tools that they implement. And none of these tools are convenient. I'm going to tell you this. And that's why they don't get adopted, because it's not convenient. People love easy, but there's nothing easy about cybersecurity. From the prevention stage to the working through it stage to the working every day, there's nothing easy about cybersecurity. But can I tell you, it's much easier not to get hacked than it is to go through a hack. I mean, you have your baby, your business is your baby, right? It's like a fourth child or something like that. And you know, when you see something harm it like that, it is painful. It is gut wrenching. And I've seen people and they worry and they don't sleep. And I really don't want people to feel that way, because there's some ways that we can make you, there's no such thing as unhackable, but we can remove you from the low level part of that tree so you don't get picked, right? So it's all about preventing that in its layer upon layer upon layer. You know, this is the way I like to equate it. Today, if you live in a city, you would never leave your home unlocked, right?
Right.
You wouldn't leave your children. Now I'm going to relate children at your home to employees at the office, right? And you wouldn't leave your valuables just laying out there. Well, with the internet being connected and no security controls, that's exactly what we're doing. We're letting everybody in from the outside and not protecting ourselves. We need to make sure that we protect ourselves adequately, so that not everybody can come in from the outside. And it's adding those layers that allow that to happen.
Yes, great. And then too, sometimes you think you have everything locked, but you know, somebody went out the basement door and left it unlocked. So you need to also be checking doors that you think were locked too. I'm always surprised about where I think I'm secure, and then something's going on here. So
I mean, it might be as simple as, hey, we've instituted this new piece of software, but hey, this new piece of software came with this vulnerability and it opened this door wide open. So we need to be constantly ever checking our network, doing penetration tests, checking to make sure that we are protected, that we're not wide open. And something inadvertent, somebody throwing the wrong switch can open you wide open and nobody knows it till the hacker takes advantage of it.
Yes, yes.
I mean, one of the things that they're doing is that they're using bots. So you think, like, how can they afford to do this? Because they leverage technology. Hackers are the best automators I know, right? Because they will commandeer your computer, and if they don't think you're valid, let's say it's your home computer and it really has no value to them, well, they'll just turn it into a bot to start looking for other places that they can hack, so that they use that asset not to hack you, because you've already been hacked, but they use you to hack somebody else that's a more valuable target. So you know, they have hundreds of thousands of these bots around the world. It's like you know, it's like mining, right? They are mining for access every day. And, you know, eventually a door is going to open for them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they keep putting bots out, and then the bots make more bots, and they're just, you know, it could just be people that you have no idea that there's a bot on your computer. So they propagate so easily and quickly that you never know. And they can just get your information, like, because it's more automated than it ever was before. So
I'm going to ask you a question, Shelley.
Okay.
Give me a percentage of computers that you think might be compromised in one way or another in this country, in the US only.
Oh, man, I have no idea. I don't even know how many computers. Thousands, I know.
Give me a percentage number, though. Don't give me a number of.
Okay,
Give me a
I would say 60%.
I'd say well over 75 to 80% of computers
Really?
in
Okay.
this country are compromised. And I bet the computers that we're sitting in front of today have compromises that we don't even know.
Wow.
I mean, if the NSA can get hacked and all of their tools get stolen, right? They didn't even know until it was too late. Right?
Yes.
What gives us a better chance than the NSA? I mean, the NSA.
It's pretty heavy duty, so
it is.
I know my defense is not that heavy duty. So good point.
You know, one of the things that the people that I talk to. So we use a program called Huntingress,
Mhm.
and Kyle Van Sloven is the head of that organization. He used to be an ex-CIA analyst.
Okay.
And he changed his language about 8 months ago to when you get attacked, not if you get hacked. And that was a pretty mind-shifting day. I didn't sleep for a week because I'm like, how do we defend against this? And I do everything in my power to make sure our clients or anybody I come in contact with, so they don't get hacked. And, it's really my job to get out the word, to spread the message. I don't care if they're my clients. I just want to beat these hackers at the game, right? This is war, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on the battlefield. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm alone, but we have partners, we have tools, we have other people like Huntingress, like the Threat Locker, that are helping us get to the place where we can reasonably fend off an attack, and we have practices that can help us stay secure. And it's my goal to get that word out there, to make it as tough for the hackers. Let's make them earn their paycheck instead of handing it to them on a silver platter.
Yes. Yes. Well, you feel alone because it's so important to you, and it is war. It's a cyber war, and it's ongoing every day, all day long. So we're glad we have people like you that can help us get through all of this. Well, I know we're running a little bit late, but this question has been asked a couple times. So just one last question. They want to know, why is it bad to tell a hacker that you have cybersecurity insurance?
Well, if you tell them you have cybersecurity insurance, they know you're a bigger target. They know you can pay, right?
Mm.
So it gives them a really big target. You should never advertise you have cybersecurity insurance, even when you're negotiating. So let's say you're hacked and you're negotiating with the hacker, you should play poor, right? And these guys will negotiate with you. So don't just pay them the $250,000 they ask for off the bat. You have to say, well, I'm sorry, I can't afford that. And you have to say no 3 or 4 times before they start dropping their price. And eventually they'll drop the price to something reasonable that you can do.
Okay.
Just you got to treat it like a business transaction, though. You can't treat them like a criminal, because if you do, they'll just walk away, right? So they know they have you over the barrel, and then they'll just raise their price. So treat it as a business transaction. And if you pay the ransomware, there's no guarantee that they're going to release your data either. So just keep that in mind. It's not a sure thing. Some hackers are honorable and some hackers are not honorable. And
honor among thieves.
Yes.
So,
some will give you your data back and some won't. And I can't tell you which ones will and which ones won't. Really, the only way you're ever going to know is pay the ransomware. And you'll find out pretty quick. Yes.
Wow. Well, you've given us a lot to think about. And now I'm thinking about my network again. So I might have to give you a call. But anyway, that we all need to really look into cybersecurity insurance, and these are good tips for us to pay attention to. So I appreciate you answering these questions.
No problem. And you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.
Great. Bye.
Bye.